Hey y'all, this is elorasong coming. Who am I? Wait a minute. This is Elora coming at you with another delightful insight. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to reviewing and discussing questions number 5 and 6. Question 5 is, do you prefer? Wait a minute, let me go back. So, for those of you who are just joining us, can I talk? For those of you that are just joining us, I'm listening to music. But anyway, for those of you that are just joining us, I sent out a list of 8 questions, and I asked some family and friends to say, "Hey, what do you think about this, that, and the third?" If you go to our previous episodes, you'll see what those questions are all about. So what we're doing now is just continuing that series, and what I'm doing is responding to these questions, giving you my input and perspective. Again, I've received a lot of input and feedback from others, not necessarily on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. It's just a personal interaction with some family and friends via cell phone. And here I am just answering the same things that I've asked them. Feel free to respond. Feel free to join us in the conversation. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So, back to the questions. Number 5 is, do you prefer mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual stimulation, or a combination of? And 6, did you know this before or after the quarantine? So I've received a lot of feedback, like I said before. Some folks said, hey, I prefer physical stimulation, and they said, hey, they miss going to the gym and they knew that before. They miss working out. Some folks leaned more on relationships, uh, intimate or romantic relationships per se. And they talked about, hey, I look for this and the third in women, and physical is last, and spirituality is second to last, or what have you. Okay, so everyone had a different perspective. So because I was getting so much input and different perspectives, what I'm going to do is split these. Oh man, hold on, I forgot the volume was on. So what I'm going to do is split these answers. Um, the first half is really going to be about family and friends, or focused on family and friends, those type of relationships, and what stimulates me in those relationships. And then the second video is going to be based on intimate, romantic based relationships. So what you'll learn from me is that friendships and romantic relationships kind of mesh together. However, like I said, it all depends on the type of relationship. Don't be playing, you know what I'm saying? Don't be playing. So we're gonna I'm gonna touch on that later. In 2 ways. So let's get to it. So first one, do you know? Oh my bad. Do you prefer mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual stimulation, or a combination of? So let me give you a background of why I am the way I am. I prefer a combination of. However, these are the top 3. One is spirituality. I believe that spiritually everyone is in tune, aligned. There's no denying it, because we all came from the same creator. That's a given. So spiritually we're all connected anyway. So number one, that will always be number one, because God is love. Have a nice day. Next, I prefer emotional, mental, than physical. And let me tell you why. I was brought up in a household with both parents. Okay, so my mother and father got married at 20 years old. They've been married for almost 45 years. God willing, this September will be 45 years. And I was exposed to their interaction, the communication style, and I admire it. I admire it. So I've always been brought up in a household where we communicated. We always spoke to each other. We always want to know, hey, how was your day? What did you experience? How did you interact with other people? How did they interact with you? Um, and I was also told, now some people might take this a certain way or whatever, but I was also told, because I am a woman and I am black, I would always have to overachieve. So guess what? I always made sure that I was emotionally connected with people and mentally connected with people. And I learned for myself, especially later on in life in my mid 30s, that hey, this is the style of communication I prefer anyway, because looks don't mean jack to me. And because it doesn't take you very, very far. You know what I'm saying? So I just noticed that the interactions were better when I was in tune with people emotionally and mentally. especially with the laughter. Laughter is always a winner. So anyway, that was my upbringing. Okay, so with my family, as I mentioned before, it's all about communication. It was always a, hey, how you doing? Let's be emotionally in line. Let's get mentally in tune. Where are we? And it just seems like, especially even with my brother, we don't agree on everything. We get, we're the typical siblings. However, we will always have an emotional and mental connection. Same thing with my parents. I got a text message. Okay, so yeah, so all I'm saying is that for me, that's what works. Professionally, same thing. You don't have to be the smartest person. I believe that anyone can be taught as long as they're willing to learn, right? And vice versa. If anyone's willing to teach me anything, hey, thank you, appreciate you. So again, it goes back to that emotional connection or mental connection. And sometimes that's reversed in a professional setting. Sometimes I'm not going to hit it off with somebody and be like, oh, yeah, we cool. Yeah, okay, I appreciate that. No, it's going to be strictly a mental connection and it's going to be a mental stimulation forward, right? However, I know getting to know people and at least learning one thing in particular about them helps with that transition. It helps from moving into the transition from mental and emotional. So being able to interlace those things allows life, it just makes life easier, not only professionally but personally. But for me, an emotional connection and a mental connection is imperative. When it comes to friends, I surround myself with deep thinkers. And why is that? Because I think a lot. I do. I think about everything. I'm thinking about, okay, life after death. I'm thinking about aliens. I'm thinking about uh oxygen. I'm thinking about when I'm gonna get out of here. I'm thinking about spirits. I'm thinking about God, angels, Bible. I'm thinking about toenails when I'm gonna get them. I'm thinking about everything. My curls. How much hair do I have? The strands. How many strands do I have? Oh my gosh. Oh wow. I have two great ones. Okay, this is awesome. I'm thinking about how many times have I laughed today. I'm thinking about, have I written today? Have I learned something new? Have I inspired someone today? How have I contributed to life? How have I contributed to others? I'm telling you. And so when I'm saying I think all the time, I'm not thinking about some surface level stuff. So guess what? When I interact with people or I let people into my life, I expect, this is an expectation, I expect to surround myself with deep thinkers or people that are like-minded, that don't think about your standard stuff. Like I got a vacuum today, or did I clean that doorknob today? Did I wash my hands? Uh, but or the basic, hey, what you doing? No, I'm talking about deep thinkers that are always constantly thinking about something beyond themselves or something internally, spiritually, introspection. Again, that word. So if if folks aren't conversing with me on that level, I don't see I don't see much happening, And the crazy part is, I've noticed that I have real hard laughs with people because they're on that level. We think beyond the standard stuff, because we're just there. We're mentally connected, we're emotionally connected to the same things and to each other. The same things matter to us. And so when I find myself conversing with new people and I bring certain topics up and I get a response like, or it's not reciprocated, or it's not, or they're not joining in like you think, like it's not flowing, or I'm asking questions constantly and there's no reciprocation. I'm like, okay, I guess we're not there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what else to say. Like, everybody's not meant to talk to each other. I get it, but like I said in the previous episode, I mentioned, hey, about replanting weeds and all that stuff. Y'all, in my 30s, I learned a term called sapiosexual. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is me. Because I gravitate towards people that, like I said, have an emotional, mental, or philosophical intellect. I just gravitate towards people like that. Or when people share deep rooted, deep rooted thoughts and concerns or experiences with me, or some some life-changing experiences with me, I want to know more. I thrive off of that. And because why? Because I've experienced some stuff in my life. Like I said, I'm only 40, but guess what? I've experienced a lot of stuff, y'all. And I'm sure everybody has a story, but there's some stories out there that y'all be like, what? Y'all won't even believe me. I'm telling you, y'all would not believe me. So when I cross paths with certain people, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to let go of that type of relationship. I don't want to let go of those conversations. I want those conversations to keep going. I want to get to know these people's thoughts more. Um, I want to have those deep rooted, deep seated conversations, and no hesitation, no resilience, no what's the word I'm looking for? People are just open. They're just open. They're letting themselves open, being open and vulnerable to um the experience that's coming. I just think that, and mind you, I get it. Not everybody's transparent. I'm not saying everybody has to be. I just recently learned that not everyone's going to be as transparent as I am, and some folks just aren't comfortable doing that, which is cool. But don't be mistaken or think it's a mistake of my insecurities, or I don't know who I am, or I'm not confident. Oh no, oh no. I know who I am. And I do know that I am different in terms of thinking outside the box. I'm not always focused on money. I'm not focused on employment and a job and profession, and I got to no, I'm more focused on what does this life mean? Why am I here? How can I contribute to the world? Not just my next door neighbor. How can I contribute to the world? How can I get folks at a point of elevation, mental and emotional elevation, to where we are not concerned about the small stuff? And if it takes simply a video like this, so be it. But I'm not your basic chick. And so I think some people, like, that's gonna lean into the next thing. But when I try to make friends or have friendships, these are the type of conversations that I have with my friends, with people that I interact with every day or every other month, like I mentioned before. Sometimes I don't talk to everybody every day or every week. Sometimes it's just every other month. Hey, and we catch up. But I'm just passionate about that. I think God did not create us to live separate lives and to act like surface level stuff. And let's just no. I'm here to live abundantly, and if that means to get to know my neighbors, and I say neighbors, my brothers and sisters, everybody around, and get to know your life experiences and share mine, and say, okay, how can I help that next person? Or I'm just telling you, there's so much stuff going on. I'm so serious. So anyway, so I'm still getting text messages from people and the answers. It's really awesome. So, oh, thank you for letting me vent on that. So anyway, um, I was chit chatting with a friend of mine today, and we were talking about the replanting seeds kind of, or weeds, replanting weeds kind of stuff. And they were like, girl, you just got to do houses. Use that example. And I was like, you know what? That's true. I just laid down the side. I just laid the side down last October. I am not trying to get weeds up in my yard this spring. I need a fence. I need some weed killer. And I'm telling you, and that's how I feel about my life. Life is valuable. Most people don't even get to see the age 40. Okay, and I think there's a man by the name of Dr. Miles Monroe, and he said, it's a tragedy when you pass by a cemetery because there's so many dreams that were not fulfilled. You will never know what their dreams were. You will never know how they contributed to someone's life because nothing happened with it, right? Those are the type of interactions I long for. I get that from my family. My mama and I, we have a certain relationship. My dad and I, we have a certain relationship, and same thing with my brother and certain other people in my family. And again, that's why I keep bringing up my grandmother, Meemaw Kindred, my dad's mother, because we had that type of relationship. It wasn't so much, like I said, I could go months without being physically around. Like I said, the top three for me is obviously spiritual stimulation, but emotional, philosophical, and mental. My grandmother, there's probably another reason why I am the way I am. When I went to her house, she and my grandfather's house, they were married 64 years, mind you. And When I would go over there, they would share so many stories, and we would make music with spoons. But the thing I valued the most was her transparency. She was able to share so much stuff, y'all. When I say, when you look at a grandma, some people have the stereotypical relationship, like, oh yeah, that's grandma rocking in a chair, cool. No, Mima talked about everything, y'all. She let me in, and it was so cool. And the cool part was her side comments to some of this stuff was like, oh, she know already. She already know. Like, I'm not fooling nobody, but she's saying, hey, but Pookie, you gotta think about this, then, and third. And I'm like, dang it. And when I was in the military, I had called her when I was overseas and I was stationed in Sicily. I was calling her, y'all. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Emotional and mental stimulation goes way beyond this physical mess. Okay, for my friendships and with my family. I value those things because other than that, I don't know. Now, mind you, like I said, physical sense. Okay, yay. So I like the dinners. I like the hanging out. I like the hey, let's do the get-togethers. What I used to do, which I need to start doing here when we get the opportunity, is have more get-togethers. I used to have get-togethers all the time in the military. But get-togethers are cool, but they're intimate. They're not this big blown out party. You understand what I'm saying? So I enjoy those intimate settings. But again, that's based off of what? The emotional and mental connection. So again, that's me. That's E. I'm trying to keep this okay, less than 20 minutes, so I'm doing good. So I just wanted to say, hey, that's where I am. Did I know this before the quarantine? Absolutely. I just told y'all this is how I was brought up. This is who I am, and I've been receptive to that more so since my early 30s. So that's been 10 years, y'all. Hitting 11. So I'm cool. I'm pretty confident in that. And we're gonna roll into the second part here in what I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but the second half of the questions that pertain to romantic relationships, and looking forward to it. Hey, you're like, what you listening to? Don't worry about that. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Again, love, light, prosperity, and joy. Ciao for now.